Hello, this is Leslie Currier from Marin Shakespeare Company, and we're here again to bring you Act 2 of Romeo and Juliet. Maybe you've been able to get a copy of the play from your library and follow along with us, but we'll point out some of our favorite things about the play as we go along. So let's see what happens with Romeo and Juliet in Act 2 of William Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet.
I don't know what you did to me. Now all I do is think of you. What does this mean? Girl, I don't know what to call it. A beautiful mystery. It's a beautiful mystery. Girl, I don't know what you did to me. It's a beautiful mystery. Girl, I don't know what you did to me. It's a beautiful mystery. Girl, I don't know what you did to me. It's a beautiful mystery.
This prologue is reminding us of Romeo's old feelings for Rosaline and how quickly they've changed to Juliet.
All right, now you're also going to notice that this prologue acts as a device, which is really common in theater, not just Shakespeare. This device is to cover some time so the actors from the former scene can get into this new scene, whether that means changing costume or set, or just a chance for Romeo and Juliet to breathe before they get into another large scene.
Like the prologue that opened Act 1, this prologue that you're about to hear is also a sonnet. Listen out for that alternating rhyme. Remember, Shakespeare opened the play with a sonnet at the beginning of Act 1 to clue us into the fact that we were about to witness an epic love story. By opening Act 2 with another sonnet, Shakespeare is letting us know that the sweet love story we saw begin in Act 1 is about to deepen and get way more real. Just like how in Act 1, events happened very quickly and Romeo and Juliet fell in love at lightning speed, the stakes are about to get way higher, way faster.
My favorite phrase in this prologue is, passion lends them power. When you have passion, enthusiasm, and deep feelings about something, it lends you power. Have you ever felt that way?
Do you believe in true love? Is this true love?
Now, old desire doth in his deathbed lie, and young affection gapes to be his heir. That fair for which love groaned for and would die, with tender Juliet matched, is now not fair. Now Romeo is beloved and loves again, alike bewitched by the charm of looks. But to his foe supposed he must complain, and she still loves sweet bait from fearful hooks. Being held a foe, he may not have access to breathe such vows as lovers used to swear, and she as much in love, her means much less, to meet her new beloved anywhere. But passion lends them power, time means to meet, tempering extremities with extremes sweet.
So this scene lends itself to a little bit more risk. Again, we have best friends desperately trying to find Romeo, and they can't leave him on enemy territory. So it's no fun to just stand around and talk. In this scene, it gives us a great chance to really look and search high and low for Romeo, who's a pretty good hider, thank goodness.
This is the second time we've seen Romeo slinking away from his friends. Joking response makes us wonder how often he disappears.
In one of his speeches, Mercutio references three very specific romantic figures: Cupid, a god of love, Venus, a goddess of love, and, interestingly, the ballad of King Cophetua. Now, that last reference is a crazy amount of foreshadowing because the story of King Cophetua is the story of someone who falls in love with a maid at first sight and instantly proposes marriage, swearing he'll either have her as his wife or commit suicide. We're going to see this very scenario unfold over the next few scenes, and sadly, we now also know what will eventually be Romeo's demise.
One of the things to listen for in this scene is the phrase, if love be blind. This means When we're in love, we're blind to everything except the passion we feel for the person we love. Have you ever felt that way?
Do you know anyone who, like Mercutio, uses their smarts to really roast their friends?
Has there ever been a time in your life where you've just wanted to kind of slink away because you knew you were going to get a bunch of guff from your best friend crew?
Can I go forward and my heart is here? Turn back, dull earth, and find thy center out.
Romeo, my cousin Romeo.
He is wise, and on my life hath stolen him home to bed.
He ran this way and leaped this orchard wall. Call, good Mercutio.
Nay, I'll conjure too. Romeo, humors, madman, passion, lover, appear thou in the likeness of a sigh. Speak but one rhyme, and I am satisfied. Cry but I me, pronounce but love and dove. Speak to my gossip Venus one fair word, one nickname for her purblind son and heir, young Adam Cupid, he that shot so trim when King Cophetua loved the beggar maid. He heareth not, he stirreth not, he moveth not. The ape is dead, and I must conjure him. I conjure thee by Rosaline's bright eyes, by her high forehead and her scarlet lip, by her fine foot, straight leg, and quivering thigh, and the domains that there adjacent lie, that in thy likeness thou appear to us.
And if he hear thee, thou will anger him.
This cannot anger him. 'Twould anger him to raise a spirit in his mistress' circle of some strange nature, letting it there stand till she had laid it and conjured it down. That were some spite. My invocation is fair and honest, and in his mistress' name I conjure only but to raise up him.
Come, he hath hid himself among these trees, to be consorted with the humorous night. Blind is his love, and best befits the dark.
If love be blind, love cannot hit the mark. Now will he sit under a medlar tree and wish his mistress were that kind of fruit as maids call medlars when they laugh alone. Romeo, that she were, that she were an open, thou a pupper in pear. Romeo, good night. I'll to my truckle bed. This field bed is too cold for me. Come, shall we go?
Go then, for 'tis in vain to seek him here that means not to be found.
So the two elements that drive these characters in this scene are very different. Juliet is very pensive and in her thoughts and thinking and almost daydreaming, but being very realistic about this. Whereas Romeo has just been successful from fleeing from his friends. His energy shifts and all of a sudden becomes very dreamy and not so logical. It's really neat to see the characters fight through both of these before they finally come together. Now, here's what I'm going to challenge and invite you to look for. In this scene, Juliet gets scared because there is a stranger in her backyard. So a lot of times we get the impression that this scene is dreamy and lovely, but think about this. How would you feel if you were on your back porch thinking you were alone when suddenly you hear somebody literally in the bushes of your yard? It's not as romantic as we want it to until they actually speak to each other. So it's a lot more fun to think of the risk involved than just to play it all one level and be super dreamy.
In this scene coming up, which is the famous balcony scene, you're going to see that this is one of the first times, and really one of only 2 times in the whole play, that Romeo and Juliet find themselves completely alone and can express their devotion to each other without filtering themselves or being too afraid of being caught. After this scene, they will really never get the opportunity to be together like this ever again. It's a beautiful scene, but it is infused with a little bit of sadness.
There's so much incredible language in this scene. But one thing to listen for that I really love is when Juliet says about this quick falling in love, that it is too rash, too unadvised, too sudden, too like the lightning, which doth cease to be before one can say it lightens. Lightning is so fast that it's gone before you can even say that it sheds light on the world. And that's what Romeo and Juliet's love is like.
Juliet is a girl after my own heart, and I'm pretty sure she would be a Beyonce fan, because for all the love language in this scene, she basically tells Romeo, if you like it, better put a ring on it.
Have you done anything crazy for love?
Do you believe in love at first sight?
If you got the opportunity to tell someone that you loved them, someone that you haven't been able to say those words to, what would you say?
He jests at scars that never felt a wound. But soft, what light through yonder window breaks? It is the east, and Juliet is the sun. Arise, fair sun, and kill the envious moon, who is already sick and pale with grief that thou, her maid, art far more fair than she. Be not her maid, since she is envious. Her vestal livery is but sick and green, and none but fools do wear it. Cast it off. It is my lady. Oh, it is my love. Oh, that she knew she were. She speaks, yet she says nothing. What of that? Her eye discourses. I will answer it. I am too bold. 'Tis not to me she speaks. Two of the fairest stars in all the heaven, having some business, do entreat her eyes to twinkle in their spheres till they return. What if her eyes were there, they in her head? The brightness of her cheek would shame those stars, as daylight doth a lamp. Her eyes in heaven would through the airy region stream so bright, that birds would sing and think it were not night. See how she leans her cheek upon her hand. Oh, that I wore a glove upon that hand, that I might touch that cheek.
Ay me.
She speaks. Oh, speak again, bright angel. For thou art as glorious to this night, being o'er my head, as is a winged messenger of heaven, unto the white upturned wondering eyes of mortals, that fall back to gaze on him when he bestrides the lazy pacing clouds and sails upon the bosom of the air.
Oh, Romeo, Romeo! Wherefore art thou, Romeo? Deny thy father and refuse thy name, or thou wilt not be but sworn my love, and thou no longer be a Capulet.
Shall I hear more, or shall I speak at this?
'Tis but thy name that is my enemy. Thou art thyself, though not a Montague. What's a Montague? It is nor hand, nor foot, nor arm, nor face, nor any other part belonging to a man. Oh, be some other name. What's in a name? That which we call a rose by any other name would smell as sweet. So Romeo would if he were not Romeo called. Retain that dear perfection which he owes without that title. Romeo, doff thy name, and for that name that is no part of thee, take all myself.
I take thee at thy word. Call me but love, and I'll be new baptized. Henceforth I never will be Romeo.
What man art thou that thus be screened in the night so stumblest on my counsel?
By a name I know not how to tell thee who I am. My name, dear saint, is hateful to myself because it is an enemy to thee. Had I it written, I would tear the word.
My ears have not yet drunk 100 words of that tongue's utterance, yet I know the sound. Art thou not Romeo and a Montague?
Neither, fair saint, if either thee dislike.
How comest thou hither? Tell me, and wherefore? The orchard walls are high and hard to climb, and the place, considering who thou art, if any of my kinsmen sell thee here.
With love's light wings I will perch these walls, for stony limits cannot hold love out. And what love can do, that dares love attempt. Therefore thy kinsmen are no let to me.
If they do see thee, they will murder thee.
Alack, there lies more peril in thine eye than 20 of their swords. Look thou but sweet, and I am proof against their enmity.
I would not for the world they saw thee here.
I have night's cloak to hide me from their sight. And but thou love me, let them find me here. My life were better ended by their hate than death prorogued, wanting of thy love.
By whose direction found us out this place?
By love, who first did prompt me to inquire. He lent me counsel, and I lent him eyes. I am no pilot, yet wert thou as far as that vast shore washed with the farthest sea, I would adventure for such merchandise.
Thou know'st the mask of night is on my face, else would a maiden blush bepaint my cheeks for that which thou hast heard me speak tonight. Fain would I dwell on form, fain deny what I have spoke, but farewell compliment. Dost thou love me? I know thou wilt say aye, and I will take thy word. Yet, if thou swearest, thou mayest prove false at lovers' perjuries, then say Jove laughs. Oh, gentle Romeo, if thou dost love, pronounce it faithfully. Or if thou thinkest I am too quickly won, I'll frown and be perverse and say thee nay. So thou wilt woo. But else, not for the world. In truth, fair Montague, I am too fond, and therefore thou mayest think my behavior light. But trust me, gentlemen, I'll prove more true than those that have more cunning to be strange. I should have been more strange, I must confess. But thou overheardst ere I was ware my true love's passion. Therefore pardon me, and not impute this yielding to light love, which the dark night hath so discovered.
Lady, by yonder blessed moon, I swear that tips with silver all these
Oh,
fruit
swear
tree
not
tops.
by the moon, the inconstant moon that monthly changes in her circled orb, lest that thy love prove likewise variable.
What shall I swear by?
Do not swear at all, or if thou wilt, swear by thy gracious self, which is the God of my idolatry. I'll believe thee.
If my heart's dear love.
Well, do not swear. Although I joy in thee, I have no joy in this contract tonight. It is too rash, too unadvised, too sudden, too like lightning, which doth cease to be ere one can say it lightens. Sweet, good night. This bud of love with summer's ripened breath may prove a beauteous flower when next we meet. Good night. Good night. As sweet repose and rest come to thy heart as that within my breast.
Oh, wilt thou leave me so unsatisfied?
What satisfaction canst thou have tonight?
The exchange of thy love's faithful vow for mine.
I gave thee mine before thou didst request it, and yet I would it were to give again.
Wouldst thou withdraw it? For what purpose, love?
But to be frank, to give it to thee again. And yet I wish but for the thing I have. My bounty is as boundless as the sea. My love is deep. The more I give to thee, the more I have, for both are infinite. I heard some noise within. Dear love, adieu. Anon, good nurse. Sweet Montague, be true. Stay but a little, I'll come again.
Oh, blessed, blessed night! I am afeard, being a knight, all this is but a dream. Too flattering sweet to be substantial.
3 words, dear Romeo, and good night indeed. If that thy bent of love be honorable, thy purpose, marriage, Send me word tomorrow by one that I'll procure to come to thee, where and what time thou wilt perform the rite. And all my fortune at thy foot I'll lay, and follow thee, my lord, throughout the world.
Madam?
I come anon, but if thou meanest not well, I beseech thee.
Madam!
By and by, I come. To cease thy suit and leave me to my grief, tomorrow I'll send.
So thrive my soul.
1,000 times good night.
1,000 times the worse to want thy light. Love goes toward love as schoolboys from their books, but love from love towards school with heavy looks.
Hist, Romeo, hist. Oh, for the falconer's voice to lure this tasseled gentle back again. Bondage is hoarse and may not speak aloud, else would I tear the cave where echo lies and make her airy tongue more hoarse than mine, with repetition of my Romeo's name.
It is my soul that calls upon my name. How silver sweet sound lovers' tongues by night, like softest music to attending ears.
Romeo.
My dear.
At what o'clock tomorrow shall I send thee?
At the hour of 9.
I will not fail. 'Tis 20 hours till 20 years till then. I have forgot why I called thee back.
Let me stand here till thou remember it.
I shall forget to have thee still stand there, remembering how I love thy company.
And I'll still stay, to have thee still forgetting any other home but this.
'Tis almost morning. I would have thee gone, and yet no further than a wanton's bird, who lets it hop a little from her hand, like a poor prisoner in his twisted gaze, and with a silk thread pluck it back again, so loving jealous of his liberty.
I would I were thy bird.
Sweet, so would I. Yet I should kill thee with such cherishing. Good night, good night. Parting is such sweet sorrow, that I shall say good night, till it be morrow.
Sleep dwell upon thine eyes, peace in thy breast. Would I were sleep and peace so sweet to rest. Hence will I to my ghostly father's cell, his help to crave and my dear hap to tell.
In this next scene, you're going to meet Friar Lawrence, who is Romeo's confessor and mentor. Friar Lawrence is a gardener, and he's picking herbs and telling us that herbs have different properties, both to heal and poison. When Romeo comes in, the friar immediately notices that it looks like he's been up all night and hasn't gotten any sleep. He wonders if Romeo's been with Rosaline. Romeo barely remembers her name and says, "No, I've fallen in love with someone who returns my love, and I need your help to marry us. There's only one problem. She's a Capulet and our families hate each other." The friar thinks maybe this marriage will bring the two families together.
One of my favorite bits of language in this scene is a little speech that says, "For not so vile that on earth doth live, but to the earth some special good doth give. There's nothing on earth that is so evil that it does not provide the earth with some special quality." In midst of all the fighting and death Friar Lawrence has seen, he still chooses to see hope, and that's special to me.
I love that Romeo has someone that he trusts. It's not the best friend, and it's not even mom and dad, but it's a religious figure. And it's so important in this scene that even though Romeo is filled with all this anxiety about being in love, he still takes the time and really allows Friar Lawrence to speak to him in the way that he knows he will find comfort.
What is immediately striking about the friar's language is how different a tone it has from the other characters. Pay attention as he speaks about nature and its qualities. Previously, characters have evoked images of nature and celestial bodies as images of love, youth, and passion. Friar Lawrence, however, represents a much more reasonable, practical perspective on life, talking about how within a beautiful flower, there might also be something poisonous. The Capulets and the Montagues see their lives as very black and white. Anyone from the other family is my enemy. But Friar Lawrence sees that nothing in this world is ever really black and white, good and evil, but rather that the world is filled with shades of gray.
A wonderful line in this scene coming up is the very last line, where the friar cautions Romeo to go wisely and slow, they stumble that run fast. What he's saying is, sometimes if we act without thinking, we're going to get into trouble. Have you ever been in a situation where you acted without really thinking about the consequences? Do you have any regrets about that?
If you were Friar Lawrence, would you still choose to marry Romeo and Juliet or ask them to wait?
Do you have anyone in your life that you can trust like Romeo trusts Friar Lawrence?
The gray-eyed morn smiles on the frowning night, checkering the eastern clouds with streaks of light, and flecked darkness like a drunkard reels from forth day's path and tightens fiery wheels. Now ere the sun advance his burning eye, the day to cheer and night's dank dew to dry, I must upfill this osier cage of ours with baleful weeds and precious juiced flowers. The earth that's nature's mother is her tomb. What is her burying grave? That is her womb. And from her womb, children of divers kind, we sucking on her natural bosom find. Many, for many virtues excellent, none but for some and yet all different. Oh, mickle is the powerful grace that lies in herbs, plants, stones, and their true qualities. For not so vile that on the earth doth live, but to the earth some special good doth give. Nor aught so good, but strange from that fair use, revolts from true birth, stumbling on abuse. Virtue itself turns vice being misapplied, and vice sometimes by action dignified. Within the infant rind of this small flower, poison hath residence and medicine power. For this being smelt, with that part cheers, each part being tasted, stays all senses with the heart. Two such opposite kings encamp them still, in man as well as herbs, grace and rude will. And where the worser is predominant, full soon the canker death eats up that plant.
Oh, Father.
Benedicite! What early tongue so sweet saluteth me? Young son, it argues a distempered head, so soon to bid good morrow to thy bed. Care keeps his watch in every old man's eye, and where care lodges, sleep will never lie. But where unabruised youth and unstuffed brain doth couch his limbs, there golden sleep doth reign. Therefore thy earliness does me assure, thou art uproused by some distemperature, or if not so, here I hit it right. Our Romeo hath not been in bed tonight.
The last is true. The sweeter rest was mine.
God pardon sin was thou with Rosaline.
With Rosaline, my ghostly father, no. I forgot that name, and that name's woe.
Oh, that's my good son. But where hast thou been then?
I'll tell thee ere thou ask it me again. I have been feasting with mine enemy, where on a sudden one hath wounded me, that's by me wounded. Both are remedies within thy help and holy physic lies. I bear no hatred, blessed father, for lo, my intercession likewise steads my foe.
Be plain, good son, and homely in thy drift. Riddling confession finds what riddling shrift.
Then plainly know. My heart's dear love is set on the fair daughter of rich Capulet. As mine on hers, so hers is set on mine, and all combined, save what thou must combine by holy marriage. When and where and how we met, we wooed and made exchange of vow. I'll tell thee as we pass, but this I pray, that thou consent to marry us today.
Holy Saint Francis, what a change is here. Is Rosaline, whom thou didst love so dear, so soon forsaken?
Young men's love then lies not truly in their hearts, but in their eyes. Jesu Maria, what a deal of brine hath washed thy sallow cheeks for Rosaline. How much salt water thrown away in waste to season love that of it doth not taste. The sun not yet thy sighs from heaven clears. Thy old groans ring yet in my ancient ears. Lo, here upon thy cheek the stain doth sit of an old tear that is not washed off yet. If e'er thou was thyself and these woes thine, thou and these woes were all for Rosaline, and art thou changed? Now since then, women may fall when there's no strength in men.
Thou chidst me oft for loving Rosaline.
For doting, not for loving, people mine.
And badst me buried love.
Not in a grave to lay one in, another out to have.
I pray thee, chide not. She whom I love now doth grace for grace and love for love allow. The other
Oh,
did not
she
so.
knew well thy love did read by rote that could not spell. But come, young waverer, come go with me. In one respect I'll thy assistant be. For this alliance may so happy prove to turn your household's rancor to pure love.
Oh, let us hence. I stand on sudden haste.
Wisely and slow. I stumble that run fast.
This scene takes place on a public street. And the nurse and Romeo are having a very private conversation. Sometimes the location where we are when we talk to somebody has a big impact on what we're able to talk about and how honest we're able to be. Have you ever been in a situation like that?
We're going to get to see a little bit more of Mercutio's character in this scene. Not only is he whip smart and able to make puns and innuendos like nobody's business, this is a man who is bawdy, lewd, and full of a lust and zest for life. He loves to laugh, fight, and flirt. Even Juliet's nurse, when she appears, is going to get the full Mercutio treatment. He's open, happy, and free, and his loyalty to Romeo is so strong that he will back his friend against Tybalt's challenge, no matter what.
There's a lot of sexual and body language in this scene with our young men sparring with wits and making fun of people. For example, when asked what time it is, Mercutio says it must be at least noon because the body hand of the dial is now upon the prick of noon. What he means is that the hand of the clock is now on the mark of 12, but he uses wonderfully body language. There's lots more in this scene for you to listen for as well.
Now, in this scene, we get to see whom Juliet trusts, and that is the nurse. So Romeo has Friar Lawrence, and Juliet has the nurse. Now, the nurse risks a lot to be in the streets. Granted, she takes Peter with her, but there is a big risk for the nurse to leave the compound of the Capulet house and find Romeo in the streets. That goes to show just how much she cares about her Juliet.
One of the characters you'll hear about in this scene is Tybalt, Juliet's cousin. Mercutio is talking about Tybalt and calls him the Prince of Cats. This is because he's so cat-like in his fighting ability. He has a lot of great moves. This is both an insult, but it also shows a lot of respect for his rival's skill and knowledge.
Have you ever had a younger friend or sibling that you were worried was rushing into love or was being led astray?
If you knew your friend was making decisions that put them and yourself at risk, would you try to stop them or help them?
Where the devil should this Romeo be? Came he not home tonight?
Not to his father's. I spoke with his man.
Ugh, that same pale, hard-hearted wench that Rosaline torments him so that he will sure run mad.
Tybalt, the kinsman of old Capulet, has sent a letter to his father's house.
A challenge on my life.
Romeo will answer it.
Any man that can write may answer a letter.
Nay, he will answer the letter's master how he dares being dared.
Alas, poor Romeo, he's already dead. Stabbed with the white wench's black eye, shot through the ear with a love song, the very pin of his heart cleft with the blind bow-boy's butt shaft. And is he a man to encounter Tybalt?
Why, what is Tybalt?
Ooh, more than Prince of Cats, I can tell you. Ooh, he is the courageous captain of compliments. He fights as you sing prick song, keeps time, distance, and proportion, rests me his minim rests 1, 2, and the third in your bosom. The very butcher of a silk button, a duelist. A gentleman of the very first house, of the first and second cause. Oh, the immortal passado, the punto reverso, the eye.
The what?
Pox of such antic, lisping, affecting fantasticos, these new tuners of accents. By Jesus, a very good blade, a very tall man, a very good whore. Why, is not this a lamentable thing, grandsire, that we should be thus afflicted with these strange flies, these fashion mongers, these perdon-amis, who stand so much on the new form that they cannot sit at ease on the old bench? Oh, their bones, their bones.
Here comes Romeo, here comes Romeo.
Without his roe, like a dried herring, flesh, how art thou fishified? Now is he for the numbers that Petrarch flowed in. Laura to his lady was but a kitchen wench. Mary, she had a better love to berhyme her. Dido, a dowdy. Cleopatra, a gypsy. Helen and Hero, Hildings and harlots. Thisbe, a grey eye or so, but not to the purpose. Signor Romeo, bonjour. There's a French salutation to your French slop. You gave us the counterfeit fairly last night.
Good morrow to you both. What counterfeit did I give you?
The slip, sir, the slip. Can you not conceive?
Pardon, good Mercutio. My business was great, and in such a case as mine, a man may strain courtesy.
That's as much as to say, such a case as yours constrains a man to bow in the hams.
Meaning to curtsy.
Thou's most kindly hit it.
A most courteous exposition.
Nay, I am the very pink of courtesy.
Pink for flower.
Right?
Why then is my pump well flowered?
Oh, well said. Follow me this jest now till thou hast worn out thy pump, that when the single soul of it is worn, the jest may remain after the wearing soul singular.
Oh, single soul jest, solely singular but for the singleness.
Come between us, good Benvolio, my wits faint.
Switch and spurs, or I'll cry a match.
Nay, if thy wits run the wild goose chase, I have done. For thou hast more of the wild goose in one of thy wits than I am sure I have in my whole 5. Was I with thee there for the goose?
Thou wast never with me for anything when I was not there for the goose.
I will bite thee by the ear for that jest.
Nay, good goose, bite not.
Ah, thy wit is a very bitter sweeting. It is a most sharp sauce.
And it is not well served into a sweet goose.
Oh, here's a wit of cheverel that stretches from an inch narrow to an ell broad.
I stretch it out for that word, broad, which added to the goose proves thee far and wide a broad goose.
Why, is not this better now than groaning for love? Now art thou sociable, now art thou Romeo, now art thou what thou art, by art as well as by nature, for this driveling love is like a great natural that runs lolling up and down to hide his bauble in a hole.
Stop there. Stop there.
Thou desirest me to stop in my tail against the hair?
Thou wouldst else have made thy tail large.
Oh, thou art deceived. I would have made it short, for I was come to the whole depth of my tail, and meant indeed to occupy the argument no longer.
Here's goodly gear.
A sail, a sail.
Two, a shirt and a smock.
Peter?
Anon!
My fan, Peter.
Good Peter, to hide her face, for the fans her fairer face.
Gaudy good morrow, gentlemen.
Gaudy good den, fair gentlewoman.
Is it good den?
Oh, 'tis no less, I tell you, for the bawdy hand of the dial is now upon the prick of noon.
Out upon you! What a man are you?
One gentlewoman that God hath made for himself to mar.
Ah, by my troth, it is well said, for himself to mar, quoth. Gentlemen, can any of you tell me where I may find the young Romeo?
I can tell you, but young Romeo will be older when you have found him than he was when you sought him. I am the youngest of that name, for fault of a worse.
You say well?
Yea, is the worst well? Very well tooketh, faith, wisely, wisely.
If you be he, sir, I desire some confidence with you.
She will indict him to some supper.
Abhorred! 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 So ho!
What hast thou found?
No hair, sir, unless a hair, sir, in a Lenten pie. That is something stale and hoar ere it be spent. An old hair whore and an old hair whore is very good meat in Lent. But a hair that is whore is too much for a score when it whores ere it be spent. Romeo, will you come to your father's? We'll to dinner thither.
I will follow you.
Farewell, ancient lady. Lady.
Marry, farewell! Ah, I pray you, sir, what saucy merchant was this that was so full of his ropery?
A gentleman, nurse, that loves to hear himself talk, and will speak more in a minute than he will stand to in a month.
And to speak anything against me, I'll take him down, and we're lustier than he is, and 20 such jacks. And if I cannot, I'll find those that shall. Scurvy knave! Oh, I am none of his flirt gills. I am none of his skein mates. And thou must stand by too, and suffer every knave to use me as his pleasure?
I saw no man use you a pleasure. If I had, my weapon should quickly have been out. I warrant you, I dare draw as soon as another man, if I see occasion in a good quarrel. And the law is on my side.
Now, for God, I am so vexed that every part about me quivers. Scurvy knave! Pray you, sir, a word, and as I told you, my young lady bade me inquire you out. What she bade me say I will keep to myself, but first let me tell you, if you should lead her into fool's paradise, as they say, it were a very gross kind of behavior, as they say, for the gentlewoman is young, and therefore, if you should deal double with her, truly, it were an ill thing to be offered to any gentlewoman, a very weak deal.
Nurse, commend me to thy lady and mistress. I protest unto thee.
Well, good heart and faith, I will tell her as much. Lord, Lord, she will be a joyful woman.
What wilt thou tell her, nurse? Let us not mark me.
I will tell her, sir, that you do protest, which, as I take it, is as a gentlemanlike offer.
Bid her devise some means to come to Shrift this afternoon, and there she shall at Friar Lawrence cell be shrived and married. Here is for thy pains.
No, truly, sir, not a penny.
Go to, I say you shall.
This afternoon, sir? Well, she shall be there.
And stay, good nurse, behind the abbey wall. Within this hour my man shall be with thee, and bring thee cords made like a tackled stair, which through the high top gown of my joy must be my convoy in the secret night. Farewell, be trusty, and I'll quit thy pains. Farewell, commend me to thy mistress.
Now God in heaven bless thee. Hark you, sir.
What sayest thou, my dear nurse?
Is your man secret? Did you ne'er hear say two may keep counsel, putting one away?
I warrant thee my man's as true as steel.
Well, sir, my mistress is the sweetest lady. Lord, when 'twas a little prating thing. Oh, there is a nobleman in town, one Paris, that would fain lay knife aboard, but she, good soul, had as lief see a toad, a very toad, to see him. I anger her sometimes and tell her that Paris is the properer man, but I'll warrant you when I say so, she looks as pale as any clout in the versal world. Does not Rosemary and Romeo, they both begin with a letter?
Aye, nurse, what of that? Both with an R.
Oh, mocker, that's a dog's name, R. R is for the... No, I know it begins with some other letter, and she hath the prettiest sententious of it, of you and Rosemary, that it would do you good to hear it.
Commend me to thy lady.
I, 1,000 times. Peter?
Anon.
Peter, take my fan and go before and apace.
In the next scene, a very impatient Juliet is waiting for the nurse to come back and tell her if Romeo really is ready to get married. When the nurse returns, she takes quite a while before she spills the news to Juliet. And the news is Romeo's ready to get married today.
One thing that you'll see here in the language is that sometimes Shakespeare gives us some implied stage directions. When the nurse says, "My back, oh, the other side, oh, my back," Juliet is giving her a back massage and she is telling her to do the other side. If we listen to not only what we are saying, but what other characters are saying, this can form the choices that we make as actors.
The nurse enters the scene and talks quite a bit, teasing Juliet in a way, and Juliet knows it. Both of these ladies are extremely intelligent, and they play this game with each other very well. You could say it's their thing. But the one line in this beautiful scene that sticks out to me, and I'm going to botch it, so when you see it, please be aware. As the nurse goes on and teases Juliet with the information, she tells her she's out of breath, and Juliet answers, "How are you out of breath when you have breath to say that you're out of breath?" It just goes to show the very sweet, game-like, childlike friendship that these two women have.
Have you ever been in a situation where you have withheld information to gain power over another person?
Is there a woman in your life that you trust, even though they may drive you crazy at the Thanksgiving table, you cannot wait to see them?
The clock struck 9 when I did send the nurse. In half an hour, she promised to return. Perchance she cannot meet him? That's not so. Oh, she is lame. Love's herald should be thoughts, which 10 times faster glide than the sun's beams, driving back shadows over luring hills. Therefore do nimble-pinioned doves draw love, and therefore hath the wind swift Cupid wings. Now is the sun upon the most high hill of this day's journey, and from 9 till 12 is 3 long hours, yet she is not come. Had she affections and warm youthful blood, she would be as swift in motion as a ball. My words would bandy her to my sweet love and his to me. But old folks, many feign as they were dead, unwieldy, slow, heavy and pale as lead. Oh God, she comes. Oh, honey, sweet nurse. What news? Hast thou met with him? Send thy man away.
Peter, stay at the gate.
Now, good sweet nurse. Oh Lord, why lookest thou sad? Though news be sad, yet tell them merrily. If good, thou shamest the music of sweet news by playing it to me with so sour face.
I am a-weary. Give me leave a while. Fie, how my bones ache. What a jaunt have I had?
I would thou hadst my bones, and I thy news. Nay, come, I pray thee, speak, good nurse, speak.
Jesu, what haste! Can you not stay a while? Do you not see that I am out of breath?
How art thou out of breath when thou hast breath to say to me that thou art out of breath? The excuse that thou dost make in this delay is longer than the tale thou dost excuse. Is thy news good or bad? Answer that. Say either, and I'll stay the circumstance. Let me be satisfied. Is good or bad?
Well, you have made a simple choice. You know not how to choose a man, Romeo. No, not he, though his face be better than any man's, yet his leg excels all men's, and for a hand, and a foot, and a body, though they be not to be talked on, yet they are past compare. He is not the flower of courtesy, but I'll warrant him as gentle as a lamb. Go thy ways, wench, serve God. What, have you dined at home?
No, but all this did I know before. What says he of our marriage? What of that?
Lord, how my head aches. What a head have I, how it beats, as it would fall in 20 pieces. Oh, my back. Oh, on the other side, my back. Beshrew your heart for sending me about to catch my death with jaunting up and down.
In faith, I am sorry that thou art not well. Sweet, sweet, sweet nurse, tell me, what says my love?
Your love says, like an honest gentleman, and a courteous, and a kind, and a handsome, and I warrant a virtuous. Where is your mother?
Where is my mother? Why, she is within. Where should she be? How oddly thou repliest, your love says, like an honest gentleman. Where is your mother?
Oh, God's lady dear, are you so hot? Mary, come on, I trout. Is this the poultice of my aching bones? Henceforward, do your messages yourself.
Hear such a coil, come, what says Romeo?
Have you got leave to go to shrift today?
I have.
Then, hie you hence to Friar Lawrence's cell. There stays a husband to make you a wife. Now comes the wanton blood up in your cheeks. There'll be a scarlet stain in any news. Hie you to the church. I must another way to fetch a ladder by the which your love must climb a bird's nest soon when it is dark. I am the drudge and toil in your delight, but you shall bear the burden soon at night. Go! All to dinner. Hie you to the cell.
Hie to high fortune! Honest nurse, farewell!
In the next scene, first Romeo and then Juliet come to Friar Lawrence's cell to get married.
As you'll hear reflected in Friar Lawrence's first speech, the Montagues and the Capulets have long delighted in the violence between their families, and their feud will only end in violence. The word violence, however, does not only refer to physical aggression, but also the sudden, passionate, overwhelming outburst of feeling and action that Romeo and Juliet are experiencing. The abrupt, sudden nature of their love, the friar is warning, could also have an abrupt and sudden end, like fire meeting gunpowder. The two elements are clearly meant for each other, but when they finally meet, they explode brilliantly and burn out at the same time.
When Romeo and Juliet meet at the cell, they speak words of deep poetry to each other, showing that they each share a similar poetic soul and that they really are well matched for each other. They're also looking pretty eager to consummate their marriage, which is why the friar says at the end of the scene, I'm not going to leave you two alone until we get you guys legal.
We don't actually get to see Romeo and Juliet get married. The friar is going to take them inside and marry them off stage. I like to think that this is Shakespeare's gift to these characters. He gives Romeo and Juliet a sacred moment that's just for them, that not even the audience gets to see, and they get to enjoy a moment of pure happiness before everything starts to break bad.
In this scene, it is not just Romeo and Juliet's doing. We want you to remember that there are more hands in this kitchen than lead us to remember. It is also Friar Lawrence hurrying up, trying to do the right thing and getting the clans united. And the nurse is a little complicit in this as well. She makes things happen. So yes, it's all for the greater good, but it's not just Romeo and Juliet rushing to make things happen.
Have you ever loved something violently, so much so that you felt that it would make you explode?
Has there ever been a time in your life where you felt like maybe everything was in line and this was meant to be, only to find out that it wasn't exactly what it was cracked up to?
So smile the heavens upon this holy act, that after hours of sorrow chide us not.
Amen. Amen. But come what sorrow can, it cannot countervail the exchange of joy that one short minute gives me in her sight. Do thou but close our hands with holy words, then love devouring death do what he dare. It is enough I may but call her mine.
These violent delights have violent ends, and in their triumph die like fire and powder, which as they kiss consume. The sweetest honey is loathsome in its own deliciousness, and in the taste confounds the appetite. Therefore love moderately. Long love doth slow. Too swift arrives as tardy as too slow. Here comes the lady, oh so light of foot, will ne'er wear out the everlasting flint. A lover may bestride the gossamer that idles in the wanton summer air, and yet not fall. So light is vanity.
Good eve to my ghostly confessor.
Romeo shall thank thee, daughter, for us both.
As much to him, else is his thanks too much.
Juliet, if the measure of thy joy be heaped like mine, and that thy skill be more to blazon it, then sweeten with thy breath this neighbor air, and let rich music's tongue unfold the imagined happiness that both receive in either by this dear encounter.
Conceit, more rich in matter than in words, brags of his substance, not of ornament. They are but beggars that can count their worth, but my true love is grown to such excess I cannot sum up half my wealth.
Come, go with me, and we shall make short work. For by your leaves you shall not stay alone, till Holy Church incorporate two in one.